Hello everybody, I
Hi.
am Lynette Allen. This is...
Jenni Hallam.
I'm Lynette, creator of Her Invitation and coach and mentor to female entrepreneurs like Jenni. And we are here in Mallorca this weekend because we are about to embark on a retreat. It's a whole weekend's worth of 6 months business looking ahead for the Her Invitation original team who trained with me. Plus, of course, one of my new facilitators, Heather Gordon, who hasn't yet finished her training, but she got the last place out here in my house. So, this video, why are we doing it? Well, I went to pick up Jenni from the airport yesterday. Jenni was first here. She's often first here before anybody else gets here. And really, she just walked down the runway and just looked radiant. Really, really, really good. And I just noticed how amazing she looked. And she just had the glint in her eye and said, I've got so much to tell you about what's happened to her. I've been working very closely with Jenni now for about 2 years. When I first started Her Invitations many years ago now, when we got to about 4 years in, I realised I needed some help in empowering more women than I personally was able to reach in the world. And I started to put a call out on social media for people to train to work with me and to be mentored by me so that they really understood how to empower themselves and empower other women in the world. That has been, wouldn't you agree, a massive journey for both of us.
Absolutely it has, yes.
And the training program has changed phenomenally every time I've done it, actually, because of what I've learned from people like Jenni who worked with me from the very beginning. But I just wanted to let you know what you are capable of achieving through listening to what my beautiful Jenni here has achieved. So Jenni, I met you in January 15.
That's right, yes.
I think I remember a very enthusiastic call at late 2014, when you said you had got my books and you knew about me and things like that, and you wanted to work with me to empower women. So tell me what was going on for you at that time.
Well, I'd had a dream for really since 2008 about especially working with women, but I hadn't realised it. My coaching had gone off in another direction, and although I was loving my work, that dream hadn't happened. And at the end of 2013, I had an employed job as a coach. I was made redundant.
Mm-hmm.
So during 2014, it was all about getting back into running a business for myself. But something I'd found out about myself the first time around when I tried to run a business was that I don't like working on my own. I like working with other people.
Yeah.
And I was looking for someone who would inspire me to really want to work with them, who was passionate about the things that I was passionate about. So when I discovered what you were doing with Her Invitation, it was like all the lights went on, and I said, yeah, this is it. And that's why I was so excited when we first spoke, because it was like discovering the answer. I put this question out: where is this group of people that I'm meant to work with? And then you were there.
You still work with them, of course, 2 years on.
Absolutely.
Which is really lovely, and
yeah.
exactly what I wanted when I first set this up. So tell me about the impact that the training initially had on you, because what we've both realised through training people to be empowered is that it changes us as people.
Yeah.
And we and me and you have had to change and empower ourselves in order to help empower other women in the world. Tell me how that was for you.
Okay. So when I first came to the training, I came as an experienced coach and somebody who'd been working with others to help them effectively empower themselves for quite a few years. What I hadn't recognised until I took part in the workshop, which was part of the training, was to obviously to do the workshop.
Yeah.
And there were certain things that I just hadn't recognised about myself. And the biggest one, there were a lot, but the biggest one of all was about not speaking out. And the way in which I was giving my power away was in keeping the things that I really wanted to say inside me.
Yeah.
And it was doing me a lot of harm, especially in my personal life. So that the first workshop that we did, in the very first training, I had a light bulb moment about myself and about speaking out. You may remember it.
I do. I do.
And I went back home after that weekend, and I picked up the phone to somebody and put into words what I wanted to say for over a year. And that was the beginning of a huge shift in that particular relationship. And I think I can honestly say that I think if I hadn't have done that, it would have done me a great deal more damage than it already had. So that was so important. But it had a knock-on effect, because once I'd said the words I needed to say to that person, I suddenly felt this power to start doing that with other people. And that's been such a major thing in what's happened to me over the last 2 years, is that I feel powerful about saying what I mean now.
Yeah.
And it's become, I can't imagine why I never did it now, because it's become so strong.
Yeah.
But as no doubt we will go on to discuss a bit more in a minute, it's created some amazing shifts in the things that are actually happening for me, simply because I'm going out there and saying things to people instead of worrying about it or wondering whether I should, or all of the things that I used to do.
I think what I've noticed about the change in you specifically is that you were always this beautiful, tall, graceful person, but I don't think you saw your own beauty or your own grace or what you had to offer the world. I think many women can be quite self-deprecating to our own injustice, actually, but I don't think you believed how much you could influence your own world and then the world of other people. And I see you do that now. I see you do that, and she, honestly, she's just flourished and blossomed. And, you know, certainly since, may I disclose your age?
Hey, yes, I'm proud of it.
Since a big birthday last year, 60 last year, Jenni has just, I mean, honestly, just actually this last year, I think the first year working with me was a lot of, it seemed to me, a lot of healing, a lot of internal work, a lot of questioning. Can I do this? Who am I to do this? Lots of things like that, I think, came from you. And something just happened on your 60th birthday, and you were out here with me as well, and you just decided that this is your year. And man, it has been your year. So talk us through the types of things and how you feel differently about yourself now.
Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head a bit there about it's to do with self-acceptance, and it's been the great challenge of my life. I've always been somebody who set themselves excessively high standards in every way. But for whatever reasons, the reasons don't matter. I got into a cycle of really believing myself not to be ever quite achieving what I ought to achieve. You know, a lot of very negative stuff, especially about physical.
Yeah.
So you're quite right. I didn't see my own beauty.
No.
I didn't see it. Hypercritical of myself for most of my life. And it's that thing, the difference between knowing on a cerebral level what you're doing and how you need to change it, and it actually changing. And I think, you know, it does go back to that first co-invitation workshop. There was the shift within me of really recognising how much power I had within myself.
Yeah.
And that, and I think this is the other thing that's so important, that if I really want to make a difference to other women, I have to be the change.
Yeah.
I have. It's so important that I have found my own power, and that I show that in the way that I live, and the way that I speak, in the way that I am. And it didn't happen just like that. So that first year, you're exactly right, I went through a very, very difficult time personally,
yeah.
which I was the catalyst for because of the speaking out. But
yeah.
you know, that set off a series of events and processes that were very painful. But I think looking back on it now, it was a bit of a rebirth. It was I needed to work those things through.
Yeah.
And momentous birthdays are what they are. But I had set myself some goals around that birthday of what I wanted to reach within myself. And a part of it was, I suppose, that thing of peace, be at peace with myself, to self-acceptance.
That's a massive thing, to be at peace with yourself, I think, for any woman, because the programming we get externally and therefore internally, I think it can be very damaging. I think it can be massive. So that peace of inside, that's really quite hard to achieve, and I'm finding now personally that I'm starting to get a grip on that and how to do that. That for you has not been an easy quick fix.
Absolutely
None
not.
of this is an easy quick
No,
fix.
no,
This is
totally
a massive
not.
journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and the so it wasn't like, you know, on my 60th birthday I suddenly found inner peace. But I think I set it as an intention.
Okay.
That I was going to, the simple thing, the way of putting it, is learn to really love myself. Really, really love myself. And a part of that was being open and honest about the fact that I needed help.
Yeah.
So a big part of what I've done is come to people, so Lynette, and through Lynette to Helen Vandenberg, and to some other people who I respected very highly. I had the courage to go to them and say, I'd like to work with you, I'd like your help. But it's the big key things, asking for help and not feeling that by asking for help I was failing.
We get that, don't we?
Yeah,
We do
huge.
think that women, if we can't shoulder the whole world on our own
Exactly.
and manage ourselves and everybody else in it, then we are a failure. And it's just, where does that come from? I have no idea.
But I think, you know, another part of me getting to love myself was the recognition, building relationships with people like you, who I looked up to. You know, you were on a bit of a pedestal when I first met you. I'm realising...
I'm not now.
What it means is that I've got to know that you're not just like me, because we're all unique, but that, you know, that it's not easy for you. It's not easy. We're all on a journey.
We're in this together.
We are all on a journey.
Yeah.
But you learn when you work with people who are doing the things that are things you really want to do. You know, so I looked on you, I still do, as a bit of a role model in some, certainly in what you do professionally. But getting to know you and understand what you've done and how you've done it has allowed me to recognise the differences in me, so that the way I'm doing it is, it has a lot of synergy and closeness with your way, but it's also my way, because how I help people is through who I am and my story. I think that's the other thing, especially this year, engaging with my story and realising that that's where a lot of our greatest power comes from.
Yeah.
Is our own experiences and what they've taught us.
Yeah.
And I have lots of very interesting ones, but their biggest value to me now is how they've allowed me to grow. But yes, at this point in time, I'm still on that journey of self-love and self-acceptance, but I think I have a better relationship with myself than I ever have in my whole life.
And it shows, because you're radiant.
Yeah.
It shows. Now, some of the other things, just like two things spring to mind. The first is how you value yourself in terms of your financial reward, because I think most people, when they have to set their own rates and their own charges, they devalue what they're worth. I've been guilty of that in the past. And I know that you were guilty of that as well.
Very much so.
So how would you like to describe how much you have increased some of your income by, authentically, by putting yourself out there as what you can offer somebody as being really your worth? How much do you now charge, or what is the quadrupled rate? I mean, tell us what you're doing now. Yeah,
okay. So I think it is hit the nail on the head, is recognising how valuable what I have to offer is. And because I'm engaging consistently in work with coaches and mentors myself, the power that has had in creating my shift is absolutely priceless. So that has helped me to overcome what was, I think, my other big barrier was this. I had quite a lot of limiting beliefs sitting in there around money and me, and they have shifted a great deal, and that has allowed me to place a much higher value, triple the value that I used to place on my services.
Tripled your value.
I've tripled my value.
Your charges.
Yeah, but also recognising that the greatest value I can give is through long-term support.
Yeah,
and that's something that I've only recently recognised, is how, and it is through having it myself, that when I work with somebody on that very close level over a long period of time, I can really help them to change their lives.
And I think that's right, because when talking to somebody for an hour or 2 hours or a workshop, that starts some cogs in the mind turning. But change doesn't happen after that hour. It happens with realizations and light bulb moments and thinking, and then thinking about who else could I talk to, and somebody else springing to mind. So I think when you're on your own doing that, that's quite, as you've said before, quite a lonely journey, and you've got nobody to bounce ideas off. I've worked on my own before I did this for a whole decade on my own, and it was extremely lonely, and I'm very self-motivated. But I think it can be a really hard place to be, and that's another reason I wanted a team around me to work with, and I absolutely got what I asked for. A team of really bold women who are prepared to put one foot in front of the other and work with empowering themselves to be better business women, and also therefore to pass on that empowerment to other women, and to really let other women in the world know how powerful and influential they really are. So Jenni, your plans for the next 6 months. Oh, we didn't mention your new possible career that has sprung up age 60, and I must get that in.
Yeah.
What on earth has happened?
Well, I have, through a wonderful recommendation, I have the opportunity to do a photo shoot with an international photographer, and I'm going to have a go at modelling, which is something that I've always loved fashion, and clothes and so on.
Oh,
and,
gosh.
Yeah, why not?
So you are about to start to embark on a modelling career
That's
at the age of 60.
At the age of 60.
With somebody who has been, at times, very critical of her body and physique and shape and how you hold yourself, which, by the way, is beautiful, all of it. But, you know, it's not about what other people think, is it? It's about what you think.
Yeah.
And she's already done one photo shoot for a newspaper on what 60 looks like. Yeah, and now you could possibly embark on that next stage.
Well, I think the big key to it is that I have the self-belief, the confidence to do it now. I probably could have done it at 50 or 40, certainly at 30, but I didn't I didn't have the self-belief. I didn't recognise myself as being, I suppose, worth that. And now I do. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting journey.
As an entrepreneur, how have you developed? You said that you didn't think you were very good at being an entrepreneur when your first attempt, some years ago. So tell me about now. How do you feel now, sitting in a world calling yourself an entrepreneur, doing what you're doing?
I think that I've shifted my mindset around it from being a self-critical one to what I would describe as a curious one.
Okay.
So regarding it as it has a bit of a parallel with what I do in the gym.
Okay.
So I train quite hard and I am always pushing myself to another level. So I'll reach a point where I can do an exercise well, but I don't want to stay doing that exercise well. I want to take it to the next level or find another exercise that will take that part of my body to the next level.
Yeah.
So it's always pushing things on further, and of course that means that you're constantly starting a new thing that starts off being difficult, because that's the idea. You're lifting it up. So entrepreneurship is like that. Each time I succeed at something, it actually means that I'm taking another step, and so I've got another challenge in front of me. But that's actually wonderful, because talking about being 60, I mean, a lot of how you are as a person has to do with how you are in your mind, and my mind is being constantly challenged. I require a lot of energy because I'm doing this stepping up and stepping up. So it drives me in every sense. But yeah, I think the big shift for me is that I now believe that I can.
Yeah.
And that's the core of what you need.
Yeah.
Just whatever it is, and I now say yes and work out how to do it afterwards.
I think I described it the other day to my new team, who I trained in Kesgrave in the UK last weekend or the weekend before, is that when you have a task as an entrepreneur, it's not the task that is the problem, if there is going to be a problem. It is the feeling that goes before the task. So the wobbles inside, the voices in your head that says, will this work? I won't be able to do it. Can I do this? Is there any point in putting that much work in? Do I really want to put my energy there? It's never the task. It's always the feeling before the task. And that's what I love about working with a group of women who are being trained to empower other women, is that they put themselves on the line and they go, no, I'm going to put my trust in myself to step up.
Yeah.
Because I think it's time, and that's what I hear a lot of. It was time to put me first, because we do spend an awful lot of time putting other people first. And I think you're right. As you grow entrepreneurially and you try something else and something bigger, then you get those collywobbles again, and just grow into that.
And I think if you don't have that feeling, it means that you're not growing. And I think what happens to a lot of people is that they stagnate.
Yeah.
They get very competent at something, but they just stay there being competent, and that's a safe place, but it isn't an exciting place. So
nothing ever happens in
nothing
the
ever
comfort zone.
happens in the comfort zone. Absolutely not.
Comfort zone is very safe. Nothing ever happens there.
And I also think that, you know, I am an example of this, but it isn't ever too late.
Oh,
And it really isn't. And I think, dare I want to say this at this point, that people of my generation, there is still a sort of world perception out there that somehow being 60 or heading towards your 60s is beginning to get old. And it isn't.
No.
Because most of us are going to live probably until we're 100.
Do you think that
I
old?
do,
Yes.
so? Yes, I do. Because if you look at my parents' generation, so my father-in-law died last year, he was 100.
Yeah.
And
well,
he was...
my husband's grandmother is still alive, she's 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mother's 90 this year, she still does her own gardening, runs around everywhere, goes to jazz concerts. You know, there are more and more people
so
of
old
their
age is
generation.
not what it was.
No, but the thing is, if more and more people in their generation are living into their 90s to 100, the logic would be that my generation, that's going to follow.
So
of
am
course,
I going to live even longer then?
Yeah.
Like 110
yeah,
or something?
yeah. So you know, we are.
That's really good. I've got so much time.
Exactly. So we've got, you know, if you start something in your 50s or your 60s, you've got almost half your life.
Yeah, certainly your adult life to live again.
And the wonderful thing about starting something, that sort of what you call it midlife time, is that it gives you this excitement of something new. So it will keep your energy. I mean, you know, I feel like I've got as much energy as a 30-year-old, more sometimes. But a part of that is because I'm doing something that I love, but also I'm pushing it forward and creating it. So, and I don't look into the future thinking about retirement. I look into the future thinking about doing this. I'm still going to be doing this, hopefully, when I'm 90.
We did have a little vision last night of me and Jenny on a runway, maybe when I'm 60 and when she's 75 or something. It's about that difference. Walking down the runway together, so that was rather nice. Listen, to wrap up, Jenny, tell us, you've focused on your self-worth and your ability to love yourself, which has been the underpinning part of this journey, your entrepreneurial journey and your work to empower women. If somebody's listening and they would like to have just a little bit of your self-love, where do they start? What should they start doing?
Well, they couldn't do anything better than come on a Her Invitation workshop to start with.
It would be, and I hope.
Yeah, because it is.
Yeah.
Because I think the key thing about that is that when you go on the workshops, you realise that it's not just you. Yeah. That all women, whatever their age, whatever their background, they're going through the same stuff. Yeah. So that in itself gives you a lift, makes you feel less like it's only me that's like this. And I think the other thing is start to love yourself. Recognise that if you look on yourself as you would the person that you love most in the world, so you think about the person you love most in the world, and then you think, what would I do for them if they felt like I do now? How would I help them? And then you convert that into yourself. Invest in yourself, I think.
Invest in yourself. I put that on our group. We have a Facebook group, The Pride I Choose to Walk With. It's for female entrepreneurs. If you want to hop over there and join us, we'd love to have you in there. And I put that, invest in yourself, because that's what this weekend is all about.
Absolutely.
I'm going to wrap it up there. Jenni Hallam, everybody, thank you so much. If you want to work with me, if you want to have access to my team, people like Jenni, Helen Vandenberg, for instance, who's Her Invitation's business mentor, and to work with a group of women So you are not on your own, and you have a support system around you on your entrepreneurial journey. It doesn't matter where you started. It doesn't matter if you've been going years. It doesn't matter if you've only just started and you know nothing. That is what we're here for, to empower you as female entrepreneurs in this world, to give you power and influence, and so that you can help bring that out to other women. This is what we live for. This is what we actually do every single day. I have new training in September this year, September 17. If you want to join me in Suffolk in the UK in September, along with a whole load of other women around that room, contact me. Details will be below. Bye for now.